Was this a World Series preview? Well, Yankee fans better hope it wasn't.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. You can also follow me. I'm your pal Sully at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And the best way to get hold of me is just right here on the YouTubes, and follow us and leave your comments. And if you're leaving a comment on any of the social media sites, just put this hashtag Everyday Sully in there. The reason we ask you to do that, it helps us find your comments. Sometimes if I put in Everyday Sully, put a little search, I find some of your comments in there. And I try to have as many of them on here as I possibly can. Thanks so much for making us your first listen every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and it is your team every single day. It's Sunday morning. We've got a big slate of games going on here. And obviously, I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened with the Yankees and the Dodgers. And later, I'm going to be talking why the next couple of days are going to be critical in the history of the homeless athletics. And there was a wonderfully symbolic moment that happened earlier this week that kind of, to me, epitomizes what's going wrong in Sacramento right now. Hey, let's just take a quick look at who owned baseball. Who owned baseball for the what the heck was it? Yesterday was the last day of May. So when we talk about how teams are doing and everything right now, you can't say, hey, it's early, it's only March. It's early, it's only April. It's early, it's only May. It's June. We're in the middle third of the season, and this is the exact time you should be looking at how your team is doing, where they are in the standings, because this is the time you have to do the maintenance. Who owned baseball? Do you know who owned baseball? Ben Brown. Ben Brown, they did a whole opener situation with former Red Sox World Series champion Drew Pomeranz opening the game for the Cubs. And then Ben Brown came out starting the second inning and threw 6 innings of one-hit shutout ball, striking out 9 Reds, setting up the Cubs 2-0 win. Oddly, he didn't get the win because I'm really starting to think the win stat tells us absolutely nothing about how someone does. So I give my shout out to Ben Brown. Do you know who's been having a great week or so is Junior Caminero. And let me tell you, Junior yesterday got a couple of home runs, and the Tampa Bay Rays wound up winning their game against the Houston Astros, and it was a blowout. It was 16-3. And and it was quite a good game for him. He's had a couple of really big games there. Caminero. I'm sorry, it's early. I'm doing this one early on Sunday morning. Michael Wacha pitched. It was one of the best games that happened on Saturday, was between the Royals and the Tigers. Big critical game for the Kansas City Royals. I believe it was Mike Moustakas Day that they had. And boy, oh boy, if you're a Royals fan and you came out to Kauffman Stadium, you saw yourself a hell of a ball game. Michael Wacha pitched 7 innings of one-hit shutout ball, and the Royals edged the Tigers. This is a big game for I have no compunction in saying this is a big game for the Kansas City Royals. First of all, we're past Memorial Day. You got to be able to start, jockeying for position in the standings. Also, every game that Kansas City plays Detroit is a huge game for Kansas City. It absolutely is, because KC has images of a World Series title dancing in their head. When we had Scott Bentley on the Friday show, I was saying Kansas City is the biggest threat to Detroit for the American League Central. But right now, they are even with the victory yesterday, they are a week of games behind Detroit. And they have excellent pitch in Kansas City, and they have the best player in the division in Bobby Witt Jr. So if KC goes on a run, I think they're the one who is the most likely to take a run at the king with the Tigers. So when you have these head-to-head ball games, it's really important for KC to win these games because that's a chance to climb up and make up some of these games head-to-head. And we also see that when you have you have these games which are head-to-head could factor in case there's a tie. But good for Kansas City and good for Michael Walker. And oh, by the way, we'll get to more of this in segment 2, but Max Muncy just made mincemeat of the Yankees. He drove in 7 runs. He got 2 3-run homers and drove in another run. And the Dodgers didn't beat the Yankees. They humiliated the Yankees 18-2. And don't worry, we're going to get to that for a second because I have lots of thoughts. Half Wobs, in that game between the Royals and the Tigers, Walker was brilliant, 7 innings of 1 hit ball, and he had to go up against Tarek Skubal, who really wants to win another Cy Young Award. Skubal struck out 7 in 7 innings, but the Royals blanked the Tigers 1-0. Another person who pitched great yesterday was Robbie Ray. 2 hits, 1 walk, struck out 9 in 7 innings, but the Giants were shut out 1-0 by the Marlins. Giants, if you want to get back into it, you can't lose these games to the Miami Marlins. Hey, look who showed up for the Astros. Jeremy Pena, remember him? He got a couple of home runs, but the Astros were just ripped by Tampa Bay 16-3. And Randall Grichuk went 3 for 4 with a home run, but the Diamondbacks lost 11-7. Remember, the Diamondbacks pitching was supposed to be their great, great strength. And yet, once again, they have a game where they score a bunch of runs. They scored 7 runs and lost. We're going to take a look, maybe later this week at the number of games where the Diamondbacks have scored 7 or more runs this year and walked away with an L. There are a lot of them. They have a few where they've scored 11 runs and walked away with an L. And this is a talented team. And let me tell you, brother, and I don't usually talk like Hulk Hogan, but if you really want to win in a top-heavy National League, you can't afford to lose games like that. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the series that Yankee fans, let's just say, that escalated quickly. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Then crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1-ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you feel fuller longer. Now, normally I have a bag of Wonderful Pistachios within arm's reach, but do you know what happened? I ate them. Do you know why? They're delicious. I like the ones that are roasted and lightly salted. I myself am roasted and lightly salted, but I like my pistachios roasted and lightly salted and out of the shell. Get that shell out of here. Why? I just want to pour them right in my hand. I don't want the added step of taking it out of the shell in my mouth. However, some people like that. And that's one of the beautiful things about Wonderful Pistachio is you have your flavor, your style that you like. And they got complete, as I mentioned, complete protein punch. They got all 9 essential amino acids. And you like the no shell, you like the shell, whatever you like, they got it for you. They don't judge. So get snackin' and get crackin' with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Now, let me tell you something. I saw a lot of comments from Yankee fans, and I also saw a lot of people even post on the site here. This is one from Peter Canfer. They are an embarrassment to the storied franchise. They'll be swept by LA. I'm ashamed to be a 61-year fan of this fake team. Well, it's a good thing we're not overreacting here. But I will say something. This was, of course, hyped up. The Friday game this is a World Series matchup. And Yankee fans and Dodger fans from coast to coast were super excited and also wanted to throw their remote control at the screen because baseball decided, hey, let's have it be as difficult as possible to watch the Yankees play the Dodgers. Let's hide it. Let's hide the game on Apple TV. Let's make it so the biggest diehard fans can't watch the GD game. That's smart, isn't it? You got a marquee matchup. Let's hide it. That sounds like a really smart thing to do, isn't it, baseball? Well, you can get a subscription. I already pay for my MLB.com subscription and my MLB TV subscription. Put it on my TV. If you pay for a subscription, I get it. If you don't pay for the subscription, they're trying to get you over there. Fine. They're trying to get eyeballs on it. Fine. If you're a paid subscriber, and I'll pay the subscription fee, I already do. Put it on my TV. But you know what? I don't have Apple TV Plus, whatever the hell it's called. Sorry if me not always knowing the name of these tech sites offends some of you, but what are you going to do? And so here I am, brokenhearted, you know the rest of the limerick, and I am sitting away just right down the 5 from Dodger Stadium, unable to watch it. Now, this is something to think about here. The Yankees came out smoking on Friday. You wouldn't know it. I was listening to it. And I walked the dog Friday night, was listening to the ball game. It was actually kind of nice. And, sure, a lot of people would like to watch the game, but baseball doesn't like fans watching the game. They figured, you know what? They're better off not watching marquee games. Seriously, could someone with an ounce of intelligence show up to Major League Baseball? I digress. Walking Eleanor, my dog. And the Yankees came out smoking. They were like Jim Carrey in The Mask, smoking. How about that for an up-to-date reference? The Yankees were up 5-2 after 3 innings on Friday and looking like they were going to make a statement. Judge had homered. They were showing that there was a couple other home runs on there, and they were looking like, oh, my goodness. Judge and Ohtani homered early, but the Yankees were like, nope, this is our year. And I was listening to the announcer saying, well, they lost Juan Soto, but they're now a more complete team with Jock Peterson and Paul Goldschmidt. And then they had their ace on the mound. They had their ace in Max Fried, who's been a fabulous signing for them. And I'm walking my doggy thinking like, all right, well, looks like the Yankees are going to take game 1. As I said, the Yankees were up 5-2 after 3 innings on Friday. I mention that because the mentality of the series right now is that it was men versus boys. That the Dodgers so outclassed the Yankees that this is an embarrassment. But the fact of the matter is the Yankees came out smoking. I have to scratch my nose. It's live. You're going to have to deal with that. After that 5-2 lead, the Dodgers outscored the Yankees 26-2. From after inning 3 in game 1 to the end of game 2, 26-2 was the scoring right there. And the 2 runs the Yankees got were both solo shots by Aaron Judge. And they were both, one of them was when the team was down 10-0, and the other was when they were down, I think it was 18-1 or something at that point. It was a garbage time home run. Aaron Judge hit his second home run yesterday. And it was a time when the Dodgers were basically looking like, all right, we got it. They were basically playing a neutral zone trap, saying anyone who is a pitcher of note is already in the shower. Chris Stratton came out to sort of just give us an inning. And he did. He let up a solo shot to Judge, of which it was of no consequence. In fact, the 2 runs they scored on Saturday were both solo shots by Aaron Judge. So Judge, on the surface, looked like he had a great game. Went 3 for 4, 2 solo home runs, and boom. But that was the only other offense. And by the way, Judge I was listening to the game on the radio. Um, Rick Monday, the announcer for Los Angeles, ripped Judge, ripped him, as well he should. In a game where he homered twice, he did something that showed, I think, a big problem with this current with this incarnation of the Yankees right now. In the sixth inning, the Dodgers were winning 14-1. 14-1. But remember, they had Landon Knack on the mound. Now, Landon Knack is not Clayton Kershaw in his prime. Landon Knack struggled to get through 5 innings, even with a 10-1 lead. He was through a hell of a lot of pitches for a pitcher who was up 10-1. And while winning a game where you're down, at that point they were down 14-1 because Muncy hit his second home run. And at that point, the Dodgers were looking around going like, okay, it's time to rest our regulars. Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani were both sitting in the whirlpool by the 6th inning. But that also means the Dodgers have some depth issues in their pitching, and they were sitting their regulars. And Aaron Judge leads off the 6th inning. If the Yankees put up a crooked number, 4 or 5 run inning, suddenly 14-1 becomes 14-5, 14-6, which again is a big lead, but not impossible. Aaron Judge leads off the 6th inning with a line drive to the outfield. It was deep, off the wall. The throw came in, and as Rick Monday kept pointing out, the throw was in front of him. And he was thrown out to lead off the inning at second base. That's stupid baseball. And again shows you could have nominally a great game, but a moment of stupidity hangs like a cloud over Aaron Judge in this game. That's dumb baseball. He was a dumb player at that point. You don't know that the most important thing is to get runners on base, knowing you got Goldschmidt and Bellinger. Bellinger was actually next. Bellinger, Goldschmidt, Jason Dominguez coming up, and you're going to risk what? What's the difference at that point if you're on first or second? Okay, fine, you're not setting up a double play, but guess what? You don't have to worry about that because you got thrown out. By the way, Cody Bellinger got a base hit the next inning. Yes, I know you don't know what pitches Knack would have thrown at that point, but you had a pitcher who was tiring, and they're going to have to dig into their bullpen at that point after they dug into their bullpen the previous day. Yes, the bullpen gave them 3 innings the day before, and you had to start a rally. And the Yankees played dumb baseball this whole weekend. It wasn't just they got their butts handed to them, and their offense after the 5-2 advantage just didn't exist. I mean, it was 10-1, and you're going to Aaron Judge is going to go throw. I'm going to throw you a pumpkin right down the middle of the plate. He hit it out of the park. Congratulations. And then Chris Stratton, who hasn't pitched in a while, he's going to just throw a pumpkin right down the heart of the plate. And of course, Judge, they scored 5 runs on Friday, and Judge had a solo home run there. So they got a grand total of 7 runs, and 3 of them were on solo home runs by Aaron Judge, which means their offense hasn't shown up. And their offense was completely dead after the 3rd inning. But they also were doing things like base hits to the outfield, and they were being lackadaisical in getting the ball back in the infield, and so the Dodgers would take another base. And of course, the ultimate humiliation. Okay, the Yankees used yesterday 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pitchers yesterday. 8. The last one was Pablo Reyes, who's a middle infielder. That's humiliating enough that you have to use a middle infielder in a marquee game. But here's the biggest middle finger that was put up to the Yankees is the Dodgers used an infielder to close out the game. Kike Hernandez pitched the 9th. He pitched the freaking 9th inning. They said this lead is so safe and your bats are so dead that we're going to put a middle infielder on there and you're not going to be able to score runs. I mean, if they're putting up a middle infielder and you have any sense of pride, you should be saying, you what? They're putting a middle finger up in our face. Let's torch this guy. Let's force them to bring in a relief pitcher. And what did he do? Kiki Hernandez faced 4 batters. 4. He got only 1 fewer out than Will Warren, the starting pitcher for the Yankees, got. The Yankees didn't show up against a middle infielder. I mean, Jason Dominguez got a double. Congratulations, you got a double off of a middle infielder. He showed up. Oswald Peraza, well, he ground out. Wells ground out. DJ LeMahieu, who for reasons I don't understand is playing in Major League Baseball games this year. There you go. There you have it. They didn't show up. And the Yankees, this is a humiliating game for the Yankees. They didn't look good. They didn't look smart. It's one thing when a great team beats you. Fine. The Dodgers are a terrific team. It's no shame in losing 2 games to Los Angeles at home. But one of the games the Yankees had their ace, and yesterday they didn't show up. They weren't in that game. They played stupid baseball. If they got beat, they get beat. Okay? But their head wasn't in the game. They were being lazy in the outfield, and their nominal superstar looked dumb. And I'm sorry, folks. This may sound cruel, but Judge's legacy, I don't care how many 50 home run seasons it is. What's the biggest highlight of his career? Him dropping the ball. That sounds mean. I don't care. He had a lousy postseason last year. He hit a bunch of home runs and stunk. And the only thing people remember is in a game of which he homered and doubled, and I think he got another hit in that game and made a fabulous catch. His legacy is dropping that fly ball and will be until he shows up in the big game. Is that cruel? Yeah. But Bill Buckner was nearly a Hall of Famer. And what was his legacy? And cruelly his legacy. He lost the World Series for the Red Sox in '86, which is a factually untrue statement. He didn't lose them the World Series. They couldn't have clinched it if he made the play, and the Mets didn't clinch it on that play. That was his legacy. Until he shows up in the big game, that's his legacy. And so if this is a World Series preview, file that under yikes for the Yankees. Hey, I forgot to go over the trivia question. The trivia question was, how many Tigers have hit 400 home runs while wearing a Tiger uniform? How many Tigers have hit 400 home runs for their team? And a couple of you got it right. CWIE 2968 says none. Al Kaline has 399, and that's the most. That's right. That's right. Now, Miguel Cabrera hit more than that, but he also hit a bunch with Miami Marlins. For all the great sluggers and playing in a great home run hitting park for like Tiger Stadium all those years, nobody crossed the 400 yard marker for the for home runs for the Detroit Tigers. I found that to be kind of interesting. I'm going to just talk a quick bit about something that happened in the Sacramento A's game a little while ago. They were doing a thing with a kid. They do this at ballparks, minor league parks, major league parks. It's super fun when it happens, which is kids get to run the bases. And it's one of the great promos. It's simple, but it's great. Kids go on the field. They run from home. They hit first, second, third, and then come back home. And kids love doing it. And look at as a dad and as a teacher, it just fills with happiness when I see the kids running it. They're usually dressed like their favorite player, and they're running around. They're having the greatest time. And it's, again, you see that they've seen that at Dodger Stadium, and you see that at minor league parks. And it doesn't matter which ballpark you're in. It brings you joy, and it's sort of memories that can implant in a kid's head that gives them a love, gives these wonderful young girls and boys and fans all just it's implanting a memory of baseball, which is fabulous. And leave it to the A's to screw it up, to screw up the simplest, absolute simplest promo to build up their fandom. It takes zero effort to say, all right, time to run the bases. And you have Stomper the Elephant there, and you may have, a couple people, sort of go, okay, go. They're acting as makeshift, first base and third base coaches, and they go it around. And you know what they did in Sacramento? You can go from first base to second base to third base, but you're not allowed to run home. You're not allowed to run home because the groundskeepers are at work there because of this, that, or the other thing. How do you screw that up? How do you screw that up? The simplest promo you could ever do. How do you, what is even the thought process there? Let's alienate kids, literally. You're trying to build something here in Sacramento. How do you, I almost said something that gave this an explicit rating. And this is no small thing. I think there's something beautifully symbolic because, as we mentioned before, the A's are the only team in the history of Major League Baseball, and as far as I know, minor league baseball, that does not have a designated a geographical location. They are the Sacramento A's, whether they want to call themselves that or not. But they're listed, and I think everyone is being way too cooperative about this. They're listed at baseballreference.com, MLB, whatever site you go to. Anytime they list the scores, it's always just athletics. There's no home. So maybe they're saying, hey, not only is there no home, you're not even allowed to run home on a kids run the bases night. But let me tell you something. Last year, I went to a game at the Oakland Coliseum on May the 4th, and it was a great day. It was pouring rain. It absolutely poured rain, and there was a 3-hour rain delay. I did a podcast from there, but the A's wound up dismantling the Marlins in that early game in May and climbed all the way back to 500. And all of a sudden, A's fans are looking around going, is this going to be the movie Major League? Is this team actually going to be good? And they went on to have a horrific May and a horrific June. From that moment of that game I went to, from that moment on, they were just a disaster. And then the second half of the year, they had a winning record. But at that point, the damage had been done. And then, I was there for the final game in Oakland. But it was funny, on May 4th, that was like a high water mark. And if you take a look at on May 5th this year, the A's walked off a game against the Seattle Mariners in 11 innings. It was a really terrific game. And the A's were 4 games above 500 on that day. And me and other A's fans and Booney of Locked On A's were thinking, what's going on here? Well, I'll tell you what's going on here. A disaster. From that day on May 5th until yesterday, when they jumped out to an early lead and just turned into a back-and-forth slugfest with Toronto, and they wound up losing an 8-7. The A's are 3-20. They've lost 20 of their last 23 games. I turned 53 about 2 weeks ago, and the A's have won 1 game since. Now, they're playing today in Toronto. They're playing this afternoon in Toronto. Then they head back to Sacramento. And they have games against the Twins and the Orioles. And they look dreadful. They are now 13 games under 500. On May 5th, they were 4 games above 500. They've won 1 game since my birthday on May 14th. And that was a 1-run game against Philadelphia. They got swept by the Angels. They lost 2 out of 3 to Philly. They got swept by the Astros. And if they lose today, they'll be swept in 4 games at Toronto. And then they come back home on June 2nd. And the A's have not drawn, they're playing in Sutter Health, so they can't draw huge crowds. but they've drawn about 10,000 a game. They haven't. The capacity is 12. They're supposed to be drawing about 12,000 a game, right? They're supposed to be selling out every game, and they were drawing that against the Yankees. But most of the time, a couple thousand seats are available. About what they were drawing in Oakland, and they've made the decision to not have a fan base. They don't have a fan base. They're not trying to draw the Sacramento fan base by allowing them to call themselves the Sacramento A's. Obviously, they put a big old middle finger to the people of Oakland. And here we are. It's June. How's that stadium coming along? It's not. There's no investors. They would have told us. They haven't started building there. They have a couple bulldozers running over what used to be the Tropicana Field or Tropicana Hotel, but that's not building a stadium. Do they have investors? Is the money secure? The answer to that's no. So they're going to be here for they're going to be in Sacramento, I think, at least till the end of the decade, because there's no stadium being built in Las Vegas right now. And now it's early June, and for reasons I don't understand, and I know this because I'm a public school teacher in California, school's out. School's going to be out in the next week or so. And so you're going to have those families looking to do stuff in Sacramento. And you're going to have the A's as a possibility of going to do something in Sacramento. And they are playing like a rotten team. The only team playing worse than them in the last month have been the Colorado Rockies, who are playing at a historically bad level. And we're going to see, can the A's go up 13 games under 500 as we enter June? Are we going to start seeing when the temperature is really, really going to skyrocket in the next bunch of weeks in Sacramento? They play a day game on June 5th against the Minnesota Twins on a Wednesday, on a Thursday in the sunlight of Sacramento. Are they going to get big crowds there? Are they going to get 12,000 people for any of these games? Or are we going to continue seeing lots of seats available and then indifference because they're not playing to the fans? They're not even playing to the kids. So we're going to see what happens. Elsa's dad, by the way, says the A's hitting is not bad and no pitching. No, they've been getting some decent hits. I know that, Elsa's dad. Oh, by the way, I see you, Jackson09. I really do. Jackson09 has asked me questions about the Braves. We'll see about the Braves. I still have a lot of thoughts, but I still have too much faith in the Braves' talent. We'll see. There's time for them to turn things around. But this is time to turn things around for the A's. Are they going to start playing good ball? And are fans going to show up? And why would they? They're not playing for Sacramento. But we're going to see. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens if fans show up to support this team. They're not giving them much reason to support them. But this could be the beginning of something interesting if they can start turning it around. Or this could be the beginning of a real 4-year disaster. I want it to work. I said I think they should stay in Sacramento. If they could build a stadium there. Nothing's being built in Las Vegas right now, so why not concentrate in Sacramento? But we'll see what happens. Full slate of games today. It's going to be a lot of fun. And let's go through the trivia question. We all know Shohei Ohtani is the all-time single-season home run leader in Dodger history. He's the first Dodger to hit 50 home runs in a season, whether they be in Brooklyn or whether they be in Los Angeles. I have a question about the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have not had as many great hitters in their history as you might think. Here's a trivia question. Who was the first Los Angeles Dodger to hit 40 home runs in a season? That's the trivia question. Put the answer right down here on the YouTube page. And follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. And you can follow me. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And hey, I want to thank you all so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. Now, what should be your second listen? I'm telling you right now, your second listen should be right here on the Locked On MLB feed. But check out Locked On MLB Game Night, every game, every night, all season long. Get your local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night right here on the Locked On MLB site, on YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Talking about the Dodgers showing the Yankees who's boss. Spoiler alert, it's them. And the A's finding a way to even alienate kids. Good job, guys. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Let's play ball, and you can call me Sully.